Hello, my friends. Today we're getting up close and personal. I usually post yoga flows and meditations on my page, but today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to share with you my experience in traveling to Australia all the way back from 2016, from when I first visited till now, after I just got back from a year-long visit using the visa 462 to live and work there. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Bridget. If you haven't been to my page yet, welcome, and it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for being here, and I hope that what I share with you today will help you in your journey to Australia or your journey to another country if you're looking for that motivation or that person to tell you that you can do it. I could be that person for you, to inspire you to pack your bags and go live in a country new to you while you have time. All right, so 2016, 18-year-old Bridget gets to travel to Sydney, Australia, thinking that she is so cool to go on this long trip far, far away from America. I was so fortunate enough to travel and stay in Manly Beach as my sister studied abroad at ICMS. It was my first time visiting and first time falling in love with Australia. The accents, the food, the acai bowls everywhere, the accessibility to the beaches. Throughout this whole trip with my sister, I got to see her waking up somewhere so close to the beach and being able to go in the morning for swims, in the afternoon, anytime. Feeling the energy of Manly and just Sydney alone felt so uplifting and motivating to be my best and healthiest version and take advantage of what we have on planet Earth, this beautiful, magnificent place with so much nature, so much potency to connect with the earth, and Australia was my first introduction to that as an 18-year-old. Although I was with family most of the time, I really felt a weight lift off of my chest as soon as I landed in Australia, because of the gun laws there, coming from the United States, it definitely felt way more safe. Each time I've been there, I always take a note of seeing girls in the dark, like wearing headphones, and I just think that's so crazy, but also so fortunate over there for them to be able to like feel safe and know that they're not going to be taken advantage of when they're listening to music, not really noticing their surroundings. Although you should always notice your surroundings and be aware, I definitely felt a lot safer in Australia. If you're going to Australia from the United States, definitely stay there for at least 10 days because of the travels. It takes so long to get there, and then the time change. You definitely want time to rest and be able to explore as much as you can. So that 10-day trip sparked a fire within me, and I knew I was going back. So transitioning into 2019, when I finally got to study abroad as a 21-year-old, I think this was my fall semester of my junior year of college. I studied abroad at the University of Sydney for 6 months. And there's so much I could tell you about that experience, but I'm gonna try to keep it simple for anyone who's studying abroad in Sydney. I remember a few months prior to leaving, I filled out all the paperwork, I knew where I was going, I knew what I was doing, everything was set. And then when that day finally came to go on the flight, I was sitting on the plane, and I just immediately realized how terrified I was and questioning what I was doing, because I didn't really understand what was happening. Obviously, I go to Australia, sure, I'm studying abroad, but what's gonna happen? It's the unknown, right? So a lot of growth happened throughout this experience of studying abroad, which I highly, highly, highly recommend. If you're not even going to Australia, go somewhere else and study abroad if you have the opportunity to. I assure you that everything will work out as it is meant to be. When I studied abroad, it was able to make friends right off the bat because everyone in this pool was in the exact same position that I was in. I stayed in Chippendale area and I roomed with 6 other girls, I think. It was such a nice apartment. Everything was super clean. They had everything for you, everything to cook with, couches, they had a TV, the AC unit. I remember we shared rooms together, so I had a roommate, but there was a little wall between us. We each had a twin bed and then one little bathroom, which was the perfect size. Everything you needed, you could fit in there. Had a shower, toilet, and a sink. And it kind of reminded me of like an airplane bathroom, but a little bigger, a little cozier and roomier. Right in this area, 30-minute walk to University of Sydney, about a 30-minute ride to Bondi. You could either take the bus or you could take the train. One thing about the transportation system is it is so comfortable, clean, and nice. If you're coming from a place like New York City, for instance, the metro compared to the train system in Australia, so nice. And it's incredibly easy to get an Opal card, so the card that they use to tap on and tap off of the buses or the trains. You can go to your nearest 7-Eleven, ask them for a card, and then you can place money on that card right away. And then you can download an app that you'll get a QR code for on the card. Download the app and you can recharge money on that whenever you need to go and transport somewhere. Studying abroad in Sydney, Australia was one of the best experiences I could have had at that age. I definitely grew a lot from taking the chance of leaving my college town and going to a new country where I didn't know anyone. And I promise you, if you are doing the same thing and you're going solo, you will make friends the day that you get there. Even in the airport, you'll make some friends. And I promise you, you'll have an experience of a lifetime and an experience full of growth and opportunity. If you have any questions about studying abroad, I'm happy to create a longer video. I know I didn't really touch on my whole experience, but there's so much I could share, so I don't want to take up too much time. This is a brief overview of my experience, so feel free to leave a comment with any questions and I can try to get back to you. Fast forwarding all the way to 2020, when I graduated college, this was my time to go to Australia. But we all know that 2020, COVID happened and that put a halt on a lot of our plans. So I decided to move to Colorado instead for 2 years. And then once the borders opened up to Australia, I purchased a 462 visa and decided to go for a work and holiday for a year. So in 2022, I think it was around September when I left, I decided to go, actually I went on a tourist visa, which you can get up to 3 months at a time, but you can't work. So if you're going on a tourist visa, make sure you save up and you have a way to have income coming in so you can live for 3 months at a time in Australia. After those 3 months, you would have to leave the country, get another visa, and then come back and just do that 3 months at a time. So I went over there on a tourist visa because I wanted to kind of feel it out. I was scared. I wanted to be a little safe and also keep that growth. I was transitioning from hospitality into graphic design and marketing in my career. So I decided to take a graphic design course at Shillington Education. Highly, highly recommend. It was an intense 3-month program, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday in the city. While on the tourist visa, I found a place to live in Bondi, which was magical, and I'm so grateful for that experience. I either found my room on flatmates.com or flatmatefinders.com. Those were the 2 main websites that I was looking on for a place to stay. So for those 3 months, I took that graphic design course. And then in January, I decided to leave the country, go to Indonesia, and then come back and transition into my 462 visa, the work and holiday visa. which is, this visa is 650 AUD. And to find more information on this specific visa, I'll drop a link below so you can go straight to the website and read more about this visa. You're allowed to stay for 12 months at a time, and there are some restrictions. So if you're going to work, you can only work at a company for 6 months, and then you have to transition into another company for the next 6 months. If you are going to extend your visa, because there's 3 work and holiday visas that you can get over time. With the first visa, you apply and you may get the visa. You go for a year, and within that year, you need to do 3 months of farm work or rural hospitality work. And on this website that you go to, you can find more information on that and where to do your farm work. And in the second year, if you're looking to be there for 3 years, you have to do 6 months of farm work within that year period on your second visa. I hope that makes sense, and I'll go ahead and share my experience on the work and holiday visa for my first year. So this next time around, I was fortunate enough to find a place to live in Bronte Beach, like 15-minute walk from the beach. It was the most amazing time. Sometimes I would wake up at like 5 a.m. and go down to the beach and do some yoga and meditate by the water, just hearing the waves crash and the sun rising. Sometimes you saw the sun rising at the same time that the moon was like setting behind, and it felt like a dream every time I woke up. Sometimes I found myself skipping down the street to go to the beach. It's so crazy how the world works, because I found my job and a place to live within 1 week before coming back to Australia. I knew I had the visa. I actually extended my trip a week longer in Indonesia, and within that week I found my job and a place to live. So it all works out in the end. You just have to build that trust within the universe and growth within yourself. So I was able to work at a health food store called Goodness Me for 9 months at a time, because the COVID restrictions helped my visa where I could work longer than 6 months at a company. But now everything is back set in place where you can only work 6 months at a time. At the end of 9 months, I really, really wanted to stay and get sponsored by the company that I was working for, but it's super hard to do and it takes a long time, and it's really expensive for the company to sponsor someone. So I had to leave Sydney. I went up the coast to Airlie Beach, where I went up and down the street with my friend Nick looking for jobs, because I had to get these 3 months of farm work done within time of my visa ending so I could leave a little bit and transition. And now you see me here. I'm at my home in the United States, almost going back to Australia on my second visa. But I decided to leave after my first visa. So I go to Airlie Beach and I found what it seemed like the only job that was available. I was a housekeeper for almost 3 months at a hotel there, and then I worked at a Cafe Boho. It's one of the best places to find acai. You get such a nice view of the beach. Oh, it's glorious. I was there from November to January, I want to say, November to February. And this is the time up the coast where it's insanely hot and humid. Airlie Beach is such a magical, beautiful place. I was there from November to February, which is actually stinger season, so it was difficult to go into the water every day, and the water was super warm because it was so humid out. They put nets around the beaches to prevent people from getting stung by these jellyfish. So I would advise you to go there at a different time, maybe during the winter months to go up the coast. It's kind of on the opposite. So it's the east coast, but the north is hot rather than in the US. If you're on the east coast, the north is freezing cold. So keep that in mind as you find places for your 88 days to get that 3 months of farm work done. And after those 3 months, I decided to leave Australia and take some time off. So after 9 months of being home, I finally booked my flight to Melbourne this time, which I've only been for 4 days before, but I loved it, and I feel like it's such a quirky, unique, and older city compared to Sydney. I know the beaches might not be as nice, but the creative scene and the music scene is something I look forward to experiencing. I hope you enjoyed these little bits of stories and information on my experience traveling and living in Australia on the visa 462, the tourist visa, and studying abroad. If you have any questions, always feel free to leave a comment below or DM me on Instagram at HelloBridgetAnn. But I hope this video inspires you to pack your bags and make the move to another country, whether it's Australia or not. The universe will work for you and help you and give you everything that you need. And follow your intuition and build that trust muscle within yourself. Just a quick little story of my time in Airlie as I transitioned from Sydney up the coast to Airlie Beach. I only had one friend, super lovely, but I needed some time on my own. We were staying in a hostel for 2 weeks, searching for jobs, and I was really discombobulated in my mental state. I didn't really know what was going on or why I was doing this. Why am I doing farm work? Why am I not Australia? Why'd I leave? You know, like all these questions rising in my mind. I found myself hanging out with the ocean on a bench, and there was like a party, like a club outside going on behind me for all the high schoolers that were graduating. And I was in such a different mindset than they were. I felt so out of place. I just had to shed some tears and let myself express, and these two lovely humans saw me and noticed me and came up to me and touched me on the shoulders and just held me as I was in this vulnerable state and really helped me talk through what was going on and know that everything was going to be okay. So when you make this transition, if you're studying abroad or living in a different country, I promise you that there are other people that you will meet that you can't see right now that are there to keep you safe and will help you when you are in need, as long as you express and ask for help. And if you allow yourself to be seen in that vulnerable state or in that way with strangers that you had just met. Because there are good people in this world, and sometimes it's hard to see that, and affirm that not everyone is out to get you. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. Hopefully I'll be vlogging a little bit more on this next journey to Melbourne in 2025. Always feel free to leave any comments below with any questions you have. I would love to help you in any way, give you some recommendations or tips and tricks on how to navigate moving to Australia. Namaste.